What is going on, guys? Welcome to the Reformed Reader, the channel where we review different forms of media through the lens of a Christian who is under the authority of the scriptures. My name is Josh, and today we are going to be doing a book review of Academy of Outcasts by Larry Correia. Now, before we dive into the review, let's first go over what is this book about. All Oz Carnarvon ever wanted was to become a master mage, except to do so requires the natural gifts or wealth necessary to secure an appointment to one of the prestigious magical academies in the core city at the center of the Seven Realms. Oz had neither. He was born without magical talent, serving in the elemental plane of fire, a nightmarish landscape of treacherous lava and vicious monsters where life is cheap and escape is rare. But Carnarvons never give up. When Oz fakes his death to get out of his family's contract and crosses the Nexus Gate to sneak into the core, everything seems to be going according to plan, until he gets blamed for an assassination attempt on the Fire Realm's ambassador. Now, Oz must become a fugitive in a vast magical city while trying to earn a place among the magical academies, which have nothing but disdain for his kind. And the clock is ticking, because in 1 week, the most dangerous wizard in the realm of fire is coming to track him down and drag him back to the fiery depths. Alright guys, for those of you who are new to the channel, the way that I normally structure my reviews is I go over the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good being the things about the book that I enjoyed, the bad being the things I didn't care so much for, and these are preferential things, maybe a character I didn't like, maybe the prose or a setting, maybe its length, those kind of things. But then I go into the ugly, which is what could be some sin that is steeped into this work that might hold a Christian back from picking it up. And I break that down into 5 categories and rate them out of 10. But before we get into that, let's jump right in and go over the good. So what were some things about this book that I enjoyed? Man, almost everything. And it is my great pleasure to say that has been coming up quite a bit. If you guys have been following the channel at all, you know that really my past several book reviews, I've said that almost everything about this book worked for me, but maybe to the highest degree with this book. This was, in my opinion, Larry's best work that I've read so far. It's his tightest work, and it is so much fun. Now, one of the ways that I describe this book is if you were to take Brandon Sanderson's Mistborn and you were to kind of mash that together with Guardians of the Galaxy, it's kind of what you got here. Maybe with a lot less humor in Guardians of the Galaxy, but with the same amount and intensity of fun that is represented in this book. It is just so much fun. Let's first talk about the setting. The setting is unique, but it's not just unique, but it's vast because you're dealing sort of like Portal fantasy. And so you're dealing with different realms, and within these different realms are completely different landscapes. So like Oz, our main character, he's in this fire and brimstone kind of landscape where things really can't survive. And then there's, an earth area, an air area, there's a sea area, those kind of things, the different elements. But then there's an area of death and an area of life. Because of that, our characters can jump from one portal to the next and explore a completely different world, and it would really liven up the story, which our characters only dive into really like one other place aside from the main setting, which is the core, which is sort of like a standard fantastical city, I suppose. Aside from that, you can really see where Larry Correia has just given himself. I described it like this, that it's like Larry Correia wrote his favorite characters and then just didn't want to box himself in. And so he has given himself numerous different sandboxes to play in. And within those sandboxes, it could literally be sand, or it could be a land of fire, or a land that is completely submerged by water, almost like Atlantis, or a world that is just forests, or fill in the blank. And so because of that, you're like, whoa, this is going to be an epic series. So the setting was just spot on. It was 10 out of 10. The characters are fantastic. Now, I liked Oz. I like our main character quite a bit, but let me tell you, Trax Blood Trail, he is one of my new favorite characters of all time. So he is a monk that is a shark. And as ridiculous as that sounds, it works so well. So it's funny that like I made the comparison to Guardians of the Galaxy because Trax is very much like Drax. He's very literal in his speech. He doesn't really understand metaphors. He doesn't really even understand humans because where he's from, I mean, he's from an ocean world. So obviously humans don't really thrive there, but their culture is a lot different. So he's very much Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy. And because of that, he has the same type of very dry humor. And when his humor comes in, it is perfectly timed because it's always when like there's a really serious moment or there's something really contemplative happening. And then all of a sudden Trax pops up and he's like,
See, you just told everyone your deepest, darkest secret.
Dude, come on. I think you're overreacting a little bit.
You must be so embarrassed. Do me.
and it's just, it lands perfectly. But that's not our entire cast. You're dealing with that motley crew of characters, and each one is unique. And part of that is because of Larry Correia's genius, where he was like, I'm going to make each character from a different realm or a different portal or whatever. And so they can be so distinct. So maybe you might not remember their names, but you definitely remember them because you remember where they came from, and you can make that association very easily. So yeah, the characters are just so much fun. It really is like getting to just hang out with your buddies in a fantastical world, and then some curveballs are thrown at them and they have to try to navigate those. It's just so much fun. Characters, setting, the prose, it's Larry Correia. It's not going to be super flowery. It's going to be pretty like standard. I'm not going to say like simple, but it's accessible. It's very accessible. This is an excellent book to pick up for new readers. For anybody that's like, I don't really know about fantasy, but I like Guardians of the Galaxy and maybe I want to get into reading, start here. This is so good. So the prose, the setting, the characters, the plot is fantastic. It's nothing like revolutionary. Our character is trying to break this contract. He's trying to liberate himself so he can become this mage, which is hilarious because he has no real magical abilities. So he's just decided, well, with hard work and determination, I'm gonna pull myself up by my bootstraps, but he like literally can't because he can't practice magic. So it's pretty funny. But on top of that, there are layers to the plot. Not only is our main character trying to breach this contract, essentially become a slave that has liberated himself, that has ran free, they're trying to hunt down. He's then immediately framed for murder. And then so you have to kind of find out the whodunit and why, and it's expertly done. So yeah, what did I like about this book? Almost absolutely everything. And let me tell you, one of my favorite things is look how short this is. This is not a long book. And on top of that, even if it was, I would have flown through it. If you would have had maybe 200 or 300 more pages, you can sit here and just digest this book so easily. It's just one of those that you don't want to put down. It's really just a ton of fun. And then on top of that, short chapters. Man, that's part of the reason why it was so digestible, because you would, you're looking at 10 to 15 page chapters. And so, I'm like, oh, well, just one more. Now, full transparency, Aethon Books actually sent me an e-arc of this, but I loved it so much I had to pick up the physical copy. Plus, that cover is awesome. This is my favorite cover of Larry Correia's so far, and that's including his Kickstarter. I absolutely love this cover. Has a lot of like the Assassin's Creed kind of feel to it, which is very accurate. Absolutely love this book. So now let's get into the bad. What were some things about this book that I didn't like so much? And really, there's not a lot here. The only thing that I was like not super crazy about, and it's really like the only preferential thing, and kind of nitpick that I have with Larry Correia in general, is just, there's language in here. It's used kind of freely. So just know, if you read Monster Hunter then you're going to be fine. If you're kind of like, I don't really know about Monster Hunter because, maybe I have some convictions about these things, this is going to be probably his most tame work, but there is still some language here. I would say this is probably PG-13. I don't think there's really many of the heavy hitters in here. And if there are, they're sparse. That's really the only knock that I preferentially had towards it is that, I think you can almost always do without it, especially in fantasy, because you can do the Brandon Sanderson thing and sort of make up your own language. And so you can use other words, like just regular English words that could mean something else, to convey to the reader that they are using a curse or swearing in some way without actually using it. I get not everybody likes to do that. Larry doesn't, and he has every right not to. And so it's his book. He can write it how he wants to. But just for me, I'm like, oh man, if this was just cleaned up a little bit, I could hand this to my son and he would love it. But, that's the only negative mark I would have against it. So this brings me to the final section, which is the ugly, which is what could be some sin that is steeped in this book that might hold a Christian back from picking it up. And I break it down into 5 categories, starting with violence and brutality. For violence and brutality, I'm going to give this a 7. Yeah, it's violent. It's brutal at times. One of our main characters' name is Trax Blood Trail. He lives up to his name. It's a title given to him, not his last name. So there can be some violent parts and a bit of brutality in here, just kind of scattered in. But it's not gratuitous. It's not like overt or in your face. It's just they're really cool battle scenes. They're fun. So like I said, if you like Guardians of the Galaxy and you're okay with that level of violence and brutality, I think you'll be just fine here. So this leads me to category 2, which is sexually explicit content. And for sexually explicit content, I'm going to give this a 2. Yeah, it's not really in here. I finished this book last week at the time of recording this, so I can't remember anything specific because I'm not one that highlights and annotates, and maybe I should. It's just not for me. I think it kind of sucks some of the fun out of reading for me. It makes it seem like work if I'm sitting there and annotating and being like, okay, I need to mention this. So I'm just kind of giving you my overall view. I don't remember there being anything in here. I think there was a couple mentions of maybe some wandering eyes, maybe some people thinking some lustful thoughts about certain characters, but it wasn't anything graphic. So again, I'm just going to keep comparing it to Guardians of the Galaxy here because, yeah, if you were okay with Guardians of the Galaxy at that level of sexually explicit content, this probably has less. This brings me to category 3, which is language. Now for language, I'm going to give this a 5. Yeah, it's kind of right middle of the road. There's language scattered through here. I think maybe there's a couple uses of some heavier hitters when emotions are high. I can't recall any specifically, but it wouldn't surprise me if they're there. So I would say I probably wouldn't hand this to my 12-year-old son. This is probably for an adult reader as far as the language goes, just personally. But it's such a short book. Read it and judge for yourself. And then maybe you decide whether or not some young ones in your family might be ready for something like this. I personally think that I'm just going to have my son wait because there's no harm in having him wait to pick this up. But yeah, there is a little bit of language in here. So, just be aware of that. But I don't think it's gratuitous in nature. Which leads me into category 4, which is gratuitous inclusions. Now this is going to be short and sweet. For gratuitous inclusions, I'm going to give this a 0. We do have a diverse cast, but it's not for the sake of diversity. There's no LGBTQ type of inclusion in here. There's no virtue signaling to the left or the right. There's none of that. It's just a good, fun fantasy story. For those of you that missed my interview with Larry, he actually mentioned that the characters in here are characters from a real D&D campaign that he and his friends took part in. And so, yeah, you just have a diverse group, and it just kind of seems like it. You're just kind of running around with this motley crew of fun individuals. And just like the title states, they're all outcasts. So you can expect some pretty fun and funny moments in here. But as far as gratuitous inclusion goes, yeah, it's completely absent. And the final category is dark themes. Now for dark themes, I'm going to give this a 1. And that's just because I wouldn't say there's nothing in here as far as dark or heavy themes. There's a Land of the Dead that it's supposed to be super creepy. There's supposed to be like, ghosts or spirits, that kind of thing, that maybe haven't moved on or whatever. For me, it didn't seem like it was heavy or anything. It didn't give me nightmares. Isn't going to scare me. I don't think it's going to prick anybody's conscience in that regard. But I mean, maybe that's why I'm going to put it in a 1. For me, it was a 0, but I'm going to put it in a 1 just to kind of play it safe for anybody that maybe is a little more sensitive to it. But I really don't think it's in here. So this leads me to the final question, which is, would I recommend this to a Christian? The answer is absolutely I would, to anybody that is looking to get into fantasy. So anybody that's looking to get into fantasy or into reading, I think this is like maybe the best place to start. And I mean, including any series or novel that I've read to date. I think this is a perfect starter novel for so many reasons. If somebody likes Guardians of the Galaxy, they're going to like this. If they like Mistborn, they're going to like this. If they like heist stories, they're going to like this. If they like murder mystery stories, they're going to like this. If they like that Portal fantasy, they're going to like this. If they like Assassin's Creed, they're going to like this. If they like Magic the Gathering, they're going to like this. It's kind of a book for just about anybody. So I think if you like fantasy, if you like fantasy movies like Lord of the Rings, or you like any movies that have any like fantastical elements to it, I think this is going to be an excellent read for just about everybody. So would I recommend it to a Christian? I absolutely would. I don't think I'm going to recommend it to everybody because I don't think everybody likes fantasy. And if you don't like fantasy, I think you could still enjoy this book. But I mean, if I don't like romance, I'm not necessarily going to pick up a book that is centered around romance. It doesn't mean that I can't enjoy it. It just may not be my preference. So would I recommend it to a Christian? To any Christian that likes fantasy? Absolutely. So overall, guys, what did I think of this book? I absolutely loved it. This is one of my favorite reads of the year. And if it were not for like Sun Eater and a couple of other books, this would be a top contender. This was a 5-star read, 10 out of 10 for me. And that's not me being biased just because I got to talk to Larry or because they sent me a copy. I mean, I purchased this with my own money. I wanted to support Larry. I wanted to see him do well. And it was a fantastic book. So overall, it's one of my favorite books of the year. So thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out with me for a little bit and allowing me to ramble on about this fantasy book. Guys, if you would, please share these videos to your Christian brothers and sisters who you may think might love to read, because it's my goal with this channel to be a good resource to my brothers and sisters in Christ, so that maybe we can spend our time, money, and energy a little more wisely on things that honor the Lord. So thank you guys again so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one.